Hi everyone, this is Knog, and today I wanted to bring you the Rokket deck list that I got King of Games with on the day of the box release. So the box dropped and I went live on Twitch. By the way, follow me there, you have the link in the description. And we played a bit of Madolche, and then I looked into Rokket and I didn't really have an idea what to do with it on stream. So I was like, okay, I have to sit down and think about it later. And of course, after the stream, the idea dropped and this deck list came out of it. I made some changes to it too after I hit Kog with it. You can find the Kog list on Duel Links meta. But this is the current product, and the deck is a lot of fun. The Kog run was very smooth. I lost I think on Legend 4, and I won 12 games and lost one of them. So there was 7 games on Legend 4 until I got to Kog, and then I lost 1 game, and then I hit the Kog rank win streak. So about this deck, we are playing Borreload as a skill. So Borreload, at the start of the third turn you send 1 Dangerous Dragon. This never really comes up, but if it comes up, if you have a longer grindier game, this can be nice, just like an extra body to link climb with. Helps you get into Borreload Dragon, which you actually don't really make in this deck usually, so it is a requirement for the skill though. If this wasn't a requirement, I would play something else. But the more important thing is, once per duel, if you control a Rokket monster, you can return 1 card from your hand into your deck, and then set Boot Sector launch, which will then allow you to either special summon the Rockets from your hand, or special summon the Rockets from your grave as a follow-up play. Both of these effects are really, really strong. As a condition, we need to have 9 Rockets in our deck, and I will show you which one we have. We have 3 Tracer. This is the best Rokket, obviously, so quick effect, you pop a card and you special a Rokket from your deck. And then we have 2 of each Magna Rokket and Silver Rokket. Silver Rokket and Magna Rokket have the highest attack, 1800 and 1900 are important breakpoints. And also they have the secondary effects which are useful, which I'll talk about in a bit. First, though, we also have the Metal Rokket Dragon, 1700 attack, but we just want the different names because all of them float into each other. And lastly, last second edition, Shell Rokket Dragon is not level 4, so you cannot make all your plays with it, but it has a high defense, and more importantly, the secondary effect is the strongest in my opinion. So about the secondary effects, so all of these, if they are targeted by a link monster, you can destroy them and then apply their effect. So Magna Rokket will, non-targeting, send a monster of your opponent to the graveyard. Silver Rokket will let you look on your opponent's extra deck and banish a card of it. That is part of your turn 1 combo. Metal Rokket will destroy all cards in the column, so very useful going second. And then Shell Rokket will target a monster that is in the same column and destroy all the adjacent monsters. So that means if you put Shell Rokket in the middle zone and you target it with a link monster and your opponent has a full monster zone, you can target the monster in the middle and just Raigeki their board. So that is why I play this card. Next up, we have 2 Forbidden Lands. These are attack cards. They are nice to play through back rows. So you can normal summon Tracer. I think I have that in one of the replays, you will see. And if they use a back row on it, you can chain Forbidden Lands, but then you can also chain the Rokket Tracer to pop the Forbidden Lands and special summon a monster. So you play through the back row and you also have 2 bodies on board. Quick launch, special summon 1 Rokket from your deck. It can attack, destroy it during the end phase. Not once per turn, so you definitely want 3 of those. And again, just like with lands, you can activate Quick Launch and chain Rokket Tracer to destroy the Quick Launch, and this 2-card combo will basically be your full turn 1 setup, as it provides you with 3 bodies, so you can do the turn 1 play. I can show you in a second in a replay. Next up, we play 3 Dragon's Mirror. Dragon's Mirror lets you fuse from the graveyard into a dragon monster, and our dragon monster of choice is Borreload Furious Dragon. We'll get to that in a second. Boot Sector Launch, I already talked about it, and compose as my back row of choice. You can definitely cut one of the Forbidden Lands and add another back row like Ice Dragons, Prison, or Crackdown. funny interaction with Crackdown. You can crackdown one of your opponent's monsters and then destroy that monster with Rokket Tracer to special summon a Rokket from your deck. But as of right now, I'm just going for Forbidden Lance. Now, for the extra deck, we run 2 Borreload Furious Dragon because we have 3 Dragon's Mirror, so we want to be able to resolve 2 of them because you want the highest chance of drawing it, so we run 3. But if we run 3 Dragon's Mirror and only 1 Borreload Fusion, the second Dragon's Mirror will be dead. The third Dragon's Mirror being dead is not that important because if you already have 2 Borreload Fusions and haven't won the game by now, it's like whatever. So, Borreload Fusion, 2 Dark Dragon type, all your deck is Dark Dragon. And as a quick effect, you can target 1 monster you control and 1 card your opponent controls, destroy them. So it's an interruption, it's a board breaking tool, and because all of your rockets float all the time, you can just continue to destroy cards until you run out of rockets. Then the secondary effect, once it's in the graveyard, you can banish it to target 1 Dark Link in your graveyard and special summon. So you can get back your Borreload Dragon if you somehow summoned it. You can get back your Booster Dragon, which is probably the more important card. And you can get back the Delingerous Dragon that your skill adds to the graveyard. So we run 2 of those. We run 1 Dark End Dragon as our synchro of choice. It sends a monster to the graveyard, and the nice thing is it has, after it sends it, it's at 2100. So any of these rockets in combination with Boot Sector Launch will be lethal with the Dark End Dragon. Same with Booster Dragon, it's exactly 1900. Dark End Dragon is 2100, is also lethal. Same Dark End Dragon and Malevolent Sin is lethal. So very good to remove opponent's cards, especially something like Salamangreat, which have protection. You can just send them and they cannot protect. Now, we also run Evil Swarm Nightmare. The standard turn 1 board will be Silver Rokket to disrupt your opponent's extra deck, but against some decks, say Salamangreat, that is not sufficient disruption. So instead you want to have an option to go into that disrupts your opponent where the extra deck rip might not help. Next up we have Malevolent Sin. We want to run 2 of these to remove 2 monsters for our OTK plays. These are integral, and yeah, don't have to say more about Malevolent Sin, everyone knows that card. Borreload as a skill requirement. Mermaid because of the Ibli lock. You can obviously also run the other Link 1 cards. I just took Mermaid because maybe you run against vampires and they go Ibli lock plus vampire skill, and then you cannot go into the Cyber's Link 1. And we don't run any limit 2s anyway, so Mermaid is fine. And then Booster Dragon. It requires 2 Rokket monsters, and the important effect is you can target 1 other face-up monster on the field. It gains 500 attack and defense. Also, your opponent can't react to this. Now, this doesn't seem that interesting on its own, but this is your enabler for the Rokket monsters, because this targets one of the Rokket monsters. It's a Link monster, so you can trigger these and do something with them. Now, also, if this is destroyed by Battle Card effect, you can special 1 dragon monster in your graveyard to your field. So that can either go and float into more of your rockets, or if your Borreload Furious is in the graveyard, you can bring it back with the Booster Dragon. Now, so much for the deck profile. Let's go into some replays. Alright, so we're Platinum 7. I haven't played much since the Kog Rankup, but let's just show the first replay, which shows off the turn 1 combo against the current best deck in the game. So, this was day 1 of the ladder reset, so my opponent probably also was King of Games last season. It's Crowler, and we go first. So, when you see Crowler, you probably expect, okay, it's probably Mekk Knights. So, our starting hand is 2 Rockets and a Dragon's Mirror. Now, 2 Rockets are like Rokket Tracer plus another Rokket is all we need for our extra deck rip. So I'm gonna show you how this works. You summon the Tracer, and then since we don't have anything else to pop with a Tracer, we have to use the skill, shuffle the extra Dragon's Mirror, and get the Boot Sector Launch. Now, normally you want to keep this for follow-up play, but sometimes you just need it for your turn 1 combo if you don't have anything to pop with a Tracer, or if you don't have a Quick Launch. So, activate the Boot Sector Launch. to special summon the Silver Rokket, and then use the Tracer to pop the Boot Sector launch. If you don't have Silver Rokket at this point, you special summon it off of Tracer here. Now we do this, and we get the Shell Rokket because this is a level 2, so I don't want to draw it after this. So I'm just specialing it out from the deck. And then we link those two into Booster Dragon. Use Booster Dragon's effect to target Silver Rokket. And then Silver Rokket effect triggers, pops itself, and banishes the Mekk Knight of the Morningstar from the opponent's extra deck. So they cannot do this play anymore because you can actually look at their extra deck and see if they only have one of this card, and then you can rip it. Now, we also have the Dragon's Mirror, so now we use the Dragon's Mirror to banish 2 cards to go into Furious Dragon. Keep in mind that you don't want to banish the Silver Rokket Dragon because this will trigger in the end phase to special summon another monster, whereas if you banish it, it's no longer in the graveyard and doesn't meet the requirement anymore. Now, end phase, Shell Rokket will special summon another Rokket. You can here also go for the for another Rokket Tracer, so that you can pop something and special summon something else. I just opted for the Magna Rokket because if my opponent summons something, I can just Borreload Furious, pop the Magna Rokket, destroy a card of my opponent. Another route you could take would be to summon the... so if you would go Rokket Tracer here, you can go and activate Furious Dragon, pop itself, pop something of your opponent, and then use the Tracer to pop the Booster Dragon, special summon something from the deck, and then the Booster Dragon will bring back the Furious Dragon. Now, our opponent is activating middle lane. Max in the middle, normal summon Ibli, go into Mermaid. They do not give us the Ibli here because we already set up, and then they realize they cannot play the game and concede. So this is just to show how good the turn 1 play is against Mekk Knights. Now, I have 2 replays here against Salamangreat because one of the biggest strengths of this deck is not the turn 1 play, although that is good enough. You float, you have a quick pop if you draw the Dragon's Mirror, or you can just go into a double Book of Moon. So you have a decent turn 1, but the real strength here is going second. So this was in King of Games rank, and my opponent's probably just farming skills for Varus. They're on Salamangreat and they go first. So this deck has a very strong going second. You already see at this hand is juicy. So they just go through the Salamangreat motions. Let's just fast forward this. Add field spell, Gazelle effect, send, link, activate, relink, Jaguar, get back Gazelle, add back, circle, set 3. Okay. This is one of the big reasons why we switched to lands. Initially I had MST, but in this case they have a circle set. So if I blind MST here, I have a chance to just hit the circle and they can chain it and I just -1. Whereas I can be dynamic with the Forbidden Lands here. And I can even summon the Rokket Tracer and check for back row, and then have the lands to back it up, and also lands, if they react to the back row here, I can lands and pop, which they'll actually do here. They try to Book of Moon, the Rokket Tracer, I can chain the Forbidden Lands. Now, if I don't have the Forbidden Lands, what you can do is you can chain the Rokket Tracer, targeting itself to special summon something from the deck so your zones aren't clogged. So you can, just with the Rokket Tracer, dodge some back row. But in this case, I have Forbidden Lands, I target the Tracer, opponent doesn't decide to not chain another Book of Moon or another back row, so I think, okay, I can just chain the Rokket Tracer effect, target the Forbidden Lands to get another body on field. Now they go Needle Sealing. So in this case my Rokket Tracer is still protected, but they will get rid of my Silver Rokket. And they also protect their board with Bailings. So the last set card here is the Circle. So what I can do here is I can quick launch into any Rokket, link into Dark End. Dark End sends this, and they will special summon Gazelle and chain Circle. So they chain Circle here because the Gazelle will send a Falco. And then the Falco will set this again. And I just go Dragon's Mirror because I don't have a Boot Sector launch. If I should have used Boot Sector launch in the beginning, like the skill to get boot sector launch, while I only had Rokket Tracer and they had 2 monsters. So in this case, I would be able to special summon from the grave 1 monster because they have 2 Salamangreats here, and would be able to make a better push or even lethal here. Yeah, this would be lethal if I had the boot sector launch, because I could special a monster, use the Dragon's Mirror to go to Furious, and then my monster can attack, and Furious can Furious can then chain, pop the other monster, and then you can attack. Either way, we just go into Furious here, so we do a different plan, and we know the card in their hand is Foxy. We know the set card is Circle. So what we do here is we just go Dragon's Mirror into Furious, we attack the monsters, and then we activate Furious to pop our Dark End Dragon and the Circle. Because that means all they have is a Salamangreat Foxy in hand, and we have the Borreload Furious Dragon to pop any play they try to make. Especially since the Gazelle is in the graveyard. We also go into Rokket Tracer because that gives us follow-up. So they go normal summon debug, add mirror. Okay, we have to wait. We cannot just pop the normal summon. They activate the mirror, discard the Foxy, and then they trigger Falco effect to bounce and special mirror. And I was like, okay, they have bodies on board. But then I realized, wait, Salamangreat just cannot out big beaters normally. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna wait, let them do their thing, and wait until something is threatening. Now, they go for Jaguar, and I decided to just activate Furious Dragon to pop the Links, so the Jaguar does not come out. So all they have left is 2 level 4s. They can do Malevolent Sin if they want, I don't care about that. So just do that. And we also chain the Rokket Tracer, because the target that you target on your side of the field doesn't have to stay. So I can target the Rokket Tracer and then chain it to pop itself and get a monster. So now they go into Dark Rebellion Xyz Dragon, activate the effect, target the Savage, and that's all they have. So I go Borrow Launch, activate it, normal summon the other Rokket, we go into Malevolent Sin, banish the Rebellion because that resets the buff, and with the attack through the Malevolent Sin, we can increase the attack over the 2500 that the Dark Rebellion has. So they need to top deck a Salamangreat, but if you know the standard Salamangreat builds, this is all of the Salamangreats they play. So they cannot top deck anything, they only can top deck back row or a circle. So we get our Dangerous Dragon, we banish, we show them that we have the Dragon's Mirror, and they decide that is enough. Alright, next replay. Also going second against Salamangreat, I believe. Alright. Yeah, they go normal summon Gazelle. Let's just fast forward here. Again, our hand is just cracked here. They somehow shuffle the Gazelle, I don't know why. But they have like 2 sets, right? That's all they need. So we have double quick launch. We just go quick launch first to go into Tracer because that gives us maximum flexibility. We did not use our normal summon, and we can pop anything they target with back row with the Tracer. So they go Warning Point on the Tracer, and I go Tracer Effect, pop Self to protect it from the Warning Point. And we have the Metal Rokket. Now we go quick launch again for another Tracer, and we just synchro into Dark End Dragon. Dark End Dragon will send the Salamangreat, and we go Dragon's Mirror, and they just concede. We had a lot more options here. We could have also summoned the Metal Rokket in the column of the Salamangreat and then popped it, but that gives them a re-add. Okay, next up we have this replay, which is against Galaxy Eyes. Yep. So this replay shows how you, while playing, can make decisions on your deck building, because this is the duel I realized, okay, I should run a Malevolent Sin for sure. So they do their dance. Go to Photon Lord and pass. So our hand is double Dragon's Mirror and a Rokket Tracer. So we go normal summon Rokket Tracer, and they activate the effect to add a card to the hand. Now, this card is so painful to deal with because it has 3000 defense and cannot be destroyed by card effects and is a monster negate. So Furious Dragon has an issue getting over this. So we try to bait some of the negation here. We go Quick Launch and Chain Tracer. We hope that they negate the Tracer here, because then we would be good. They decide to keep the negate though, but we still get 3 bodies on board. Now, what I did here was go into Dark End Dragon to bait the negate. But what you can do instead, which is the better play, is to just go into Booster Dragon, and you go into Booster Dragon and keep the Magna Rokket on field. So then you can go Booster Dragon, target the Magna Rokket, and they cannot react to that, and then the Magna Rokket triggers to send the Photon Lord. Now, they have to negate the Magna Rokket, which will then destroy it, and in the end phase you can get it out. And that's how you bait negate, and then you can, with the extra extenders, then you can go into Dark End Dragon. Because, they use the negate up. Or what you can also do is you can just go into Booster Dragon, activate Dragon's Mirror to get out Savage, and use the Booster Dragon to boost the Savage to 3500, which they cannot react to Booster Dragon's effect, as it says here on the card. Opponent cannot activate effects. So you see I have the Unicorn still on the deck, but you don't need that. So they cannot react to it, and you go boost your Furious to 3500. You can just walk over the Photon Lord, and that's that. So yeah. But in this case, I opted to use Dark End Dragon, they negate. And then I use Boot Sector Launch, Dragon's Mirror, go into Furious, special the Silver Rokket. So now I opt to do the Booster Dragon play to boost this over, but I wasted a lot of resources here, so in doing that. So you learn. You can also just bait out the negate with the Dark End and then go into the Malevolent Sin. Now, they summoned the Photon Dragon, and I immediately popped it because I thought, okay, if they go into the, I don't know the name, the monster that negates everything on the board, then my Furious cannot pop anymore anyway. So I just decided to pop here. Destroy my Booster Dragon, which will then bring up the Tracer, and the Tracer will then summon more from the deck, so they cannot OTK me through all the floating here. And the opponent surrenders. Alright, lastly, I wanted to show you my Kog Rankup game. So this was Legend 5. And you see current win streak 4. So we go second, opponent just sets 3 and passes. We go Quick Launch to test for the back row, we have a dance, all is good. They go Floodgate Trap Hole, we go Forbidden Lands, Chain, and then they did not react to the Forbidden Lands, so we just Rokket Tracer, pop the Forbidden Lands. Get a second body out, they Book of Moon, target, we normal summon, and I decided there's no reason to go into a Synchro or Link play here. I'm just going to attack with these because these floating bodies are just way better against back row than going into a boss monster. So that's something you have to realize too. You can just go Lajin beatdown actually with this deck, especially if you're backed up by 2 compulse. So the Rokket Tracer sadly dies in the end phase, but that's okay. Alright. Opponent goes draws and start and reveals they are on Shiranui. Samurai Skull, send the sword, attack the Silver Rokket, and we go into another Rokket Tracer, which will then... the plan was to, in the end phase, use Rokket Tracer to pop the Magna Rokket, get a Rokket from the deck, and then the Magna Rokket in the grave will also trigger to get another Rokket, so we had to have 3 bodies on board. But the opponent answers with a Fiendish Chain, which is fine. We just baited out the back row here with our little guys. So now, because we drew the Forbidden Lands, I was like, okay, whatever this back row is, I can lethal here. Because whatever this back row is, I can Forbidden Lands, and the hot red will go to 2200, which is still exact lethal. The only thing I have to do is to get rid of the monster. Now Samurai Skull, if it's removed from the field, it will float into another monster, but we have 1, 2, 3 removal, so it's definitely something we can just OTK through. So we summon the hot red, and they activate Fiendish Chain. Now, the way this works is I can Forbidden Lands here, and starting next turn though, the Fiendish Chain will still apply to the hot red, and then it's useless. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to go for the OTK now. Forbidden Lands on the hot red. It's 2200. Use the effect to destroy all monsters in attack except itself. That will trigger the Samurai Skull, and they go into Spectral Sword, which I will just return to hand and go for lethal. And that was the Kog Rankup. Now, you saw a lot of plays going second. You saw one of the main lines for going first. Now, one thing I just wanted to note is if you don't want to rip a card from the extra deck, what you want to do is Rokket Tracer plus another Rokket on board is optimal, and then you use Rokket. You just try to get these 2 on board, like Rokket Tracer plus any of these. Use Rokket Tracer effect to destroy the other Rokket, get a level 4, go into Evil Swarm Nightmare, and then in the end phase, the Rokket that you destroyed with Rokket Tracer will summon another Rokket from deck, so you will end up on the Double Book of Moon plus floating. So even if they somehow out this, you can have floating, and then on the follow-up, what you want to do, because this only has 950 and you can't meaningfully link it away, is you want to just use this as Rokket Tracer fodder. So you just go Rokket Tracer, pop the Nightmare, and then you try to go for your OTK line. Now, that was the replays for this deck. And lastly, I just wanted to show you some options for deck building. So, especially for the extra decks. So the flex slot for me at the moment is Evil Swarm Nightmare. I wish I didn't have to play these 2. Sadly, they are mandatory. This is mainline. These 2, you can try to play 1, but if you say, okay, I just need 1 to win the game, but since I want to max out on Dragon's Mirror, I'll just play 2. Dark Dragon, in my opinion, the best level 8 monster for the OTKs. Now, you saw I used Hot Red Dragon Archfiend, which is also a very good monster. Another option you could run is Quad Borrow, which can be very punishing if your opponent plays Link monsters, because what you can do is just, you can discard a card, target 1 monster on the field, and you destroy it, and if it was a Link, you can just special summon any number of Rokket with different names from the graveyard up to the Link rating. So, say you are playing against Mekk Knight, you pop their Link 2 with Quad Borrow, you summon 2 Rockets from the grave, and then you can go immediately into Borreload Dragon, for example. Or you can just use the 2 Rockets you special to go into Dark End or Malevolent Sin, whatever you want. Now, another option would be Steel Storm Roach. So depending on your meta, maybe Steel Storm Roach would be better than Evil Storm Nightmare. I don't know. At the moment, I like Evil Storm Nightmare more because it's more flexible. It's just special summon any monster, whereas Steel Storm Roach is level 5 or higher. Monster would be special summoned. So that doesn't include like special summoned by card effects, only summons that don't start a chain. And lastly, a lot of people don't mention this, but Thought Ruler Archfiend is, even though it's an ancient card, is a decent option for this deck just against back row decks. So if your meta is very back row heavy, you can just special Thought Ruler Archfiend. They try to compulse it, you say no. They try to crack down it, you say no. They try to Book of Moon it, you say no. So this is a fine option. It's just like the extra deck is very, very tight. So that's it for the Rokket breakdown. Hope you liked it. Hope you learned something. Hope you have a lot of fun with this deck, and I'll see you next time.